There is absolutely no doubt in my mind that I will be successful in my endeavor here to get really good at the squat. I might not get 300, but I'm going to get really, really good at this squat business. I just feel like it's a matter of time. I feel like I have all the right ingredients to get where I want to get. And those ingredients got nothing to do with physical attributes. It's got everything to do with the mental, the heart, and the balls, essentially. The mental is the inquiry, the curiosity that I have about this, right? I genuinely have an intellectual stimulation every time I kind of sit down and think about this. I find myself thinking about the squat, the deadlift, and how to get stronger a lot. It's always kind of in the back of my mind. It's always in the background processing. It's always a program running in the background, essentially. I find myself, I kind of like catch myself thinking about this in the weirdest kind of situations. Sometimes I'm at work doing something completely unrelated to what I'm about, and then I'll get a fleeting thought about how I'm going to attack the session tomorrow, what I'm going to change, how I'm going to improve. So the mental is there for me. I definitely have this curiosity how to kind of solve this puzzle. The heart, I've always kind of had this fire in my belly. I've always kind of wanted to build a physique. I wanted to build strength. I always wanted to be the hardest working. People might be more talented than me. People might be more gifted than me in terms of lifting. There are 17, 16, 15-year-olds out there who are pulling bigger numbers than me, who are more impressive than me. So the talent I might not have for this game, but I have the heart. I'm one of those characters that is not going to give up. I'll keep going until I'm freaking 60 years old, 70 years old. This is, I just feel it deep down within me that this is going to be a long-ass journey for me. And I'm happy with this. I'm genuinely content about this possibly being a lifelong journey. So far, I've learned a lot of different things, both about the human body and also about life. And a lot of these things that I've kind of gone through on this squat everyday journey, and even beyond that, even before that, a lot of this stuff is carried over to my everyday life. I've spoken about this at length in previous videos. Confidence, discipline, willpower, all of these things, and there's more to it than that. And this is something that new viewers of the channel don't quite understand what this is about. This is not just about numbers on the bar. This is about the journey. This is about life. This is about the struggle, the puzzle solving, all of that sort of stuff. And then finally, the third thing I mentioned is the balls. The balls is just basically, do you have the balls to kind of go through this pain? Do you have the balls to attack every day? Do you have the balls to kind of be in the hurt locker, to be comfortable while being uncomfortable? At the end of the day, you can be smart and you can have all the hard, but if you don't have the balls to kind of work hard, I can give you exact program, lift by lift. But if you don't have the balls to kind of gut through some of this, not so comfortable moments, you're not gonna Arnold Schwarzenegger said it, if you can't take it, you won't make it, man. This needs to be uncomfortable. If it was comfortable, you would see people squatting 200, 300, at the bus stop. There's people everywhere doing this stuff. So there's definitely how would you say it? A purifier, a solvent to all of this that separates people. So you need all three things, in my opinion. You need the mental intrigue, unless you're coached. If you're coached, you might not need this as much as, I'm kind of talking about it here. You might pay a coach that does all the kind of thinking for you. You might not be intellectually stimulated about lifting. You just want the damn results. You got a whole big balls on you, and you got a lot of heart and willpower and all of that. But you don't give a shit, about the nitty gritty of how things are going. For me, I've always said it, to me, it's almost 50-50 in terms of physical and mental. I'm intrigued. I always want to know why I do things. I test, retest. I'm basically just trying to find it. And this could take my whole life. It might be a 90-year-old Ivan coming up with the freaking video that says, I'm onto something. You know what I mean? So it's one of those things. And whenever you look at other disciplines, I don't want to put myself on that level, far from it. But I remember Einstein, he said, the field of physics is so massive that even if you take like a subtopic of physics, one lifespan is not enough to master it. So mathematics, it's there's many different things to knowledge, and so specializing in a particular field, specializing in a particular discipline, is the way to go if you want to become a master of it. If you want to know what's up. So there's no doubt in my mind that I will be successful. It's just a matter of time. It's a matter of time, for those atoms, for that possibility to kind of bang together in my head, and for neural connections to kind of form, and for me to kind of uncover some of these ideas. But in my mind, it's just a matter of time. Honestly, I sometimes think to myself, oh my God, a lot of you guys comment and you go, my God, I haven't followed you for a couple of months now. I followed you before, and my God, I logged on to see what's Ivan up to, and Jesus Christ, this man is still at it. And I get the surprise, and I get the intrigue that this person is just freaking at it all the time, despite the results or no results, the hip pain, no hip pain. I understand the surprise that a lot of you guys have. But when I internalize that thought and think about where this is coming from, oh my goodness, man. If I had the means, if I had the time and all of that sort of stuff, the luck in life, I'd be training all day, man. Honestly, this is why the Bulgarian method appealed to me so much, because I was like, God damn, these people are training all day. How fun is that? Whereas a lot of you guys be like, God damn, no way, I want to get in and get out. I'm not that guy. I genuinely enjoy training. And this is why I think one of the things that kind of pulled me towards this type of training is I like this stuff. I have an intellectual stimulation about this stuff. I'm not one of those guys that's just result orientated. I want to know why. I remember as a kid, my parents telling me that you always ask the why question. Sometimes to their frustration, because not everything has an explanation. We don't have explanations to everything. But now I've kind of found a little niche that I love to do, and it's beneficial to me and my health. And so I'm ticking all the boxes, and I'm very, very lucky. I'm one of those people that's found something that I enjoy. I think a lot of life is about, a lot of life struggles is finding that thing. I would gladly take 20, 30, 40% off my salary from nursing if I could just be an athlete and just do this. That would make me really, really happy. That's 10 out of 10 full buy happiness for Ivan. And off he goes on his merry way and trying to solve the squat equation. That's what I would love to do. Even though I enjoy nursing, I enjoy helping people, I enjoy the resource room and all those things, but we're talking about a passion here. And so a lot of people say, if you're making a living out of your passion, you haven't worked a day in your life. You know what I mean? From that point on. So I feel like I'm very, very lucky. A lot of people around me often say, man, how can you do this? And it's and then we talk about it, and then they realize that this is a passion, and they go, man, I wish I found it for me. And, I feel blessed. It's just a lucky thing that I walked in and I saw that guy, deadlifting huge numbers when I was, doing the bro split. And I was like, wow, that's impressive. Intrigued me, sparked me. And off I went onto this long, long journey about reading, discovering ways of getting stronger. And so to me, it's really, really interesting. And so it's just a matter of time. Today I came in again, guys, deadlifting. You know what's up. Deadlifting and then squatting. I did some bench press at the end. I didn't record that because this is a long video. Started off with deadlifts. I worked up to 220 kilos for a single. And then I did some back off sets for 3 triples at 200 kilos. So those are quite heavy weights. Yesterday I kind of felt sluggish. Today I still feel like I don't have the poppiness about me. But the weights, my core felt strong. And so I was made, I don't know, 220 felt okay. I felt kind of in my glutes, if you will, and not in my back. That's something that I've kind of been discovering over the last few weeks. This idea that this whole posterior chain business, there's variation to it, right? It's some days I do pin squats, it's all in my lower back. It's freaking lit up. I can't even walk around how lit up my lower back is. Other days I do pin squats and I feel it in my glutes. Today, similar kind of thing. I was doing deadlifts and I was feeling it in my hamstrings and my glutes. I wasn't feeling in my lower back. And so when I feel those type of symptoms, when I feel that, I feel good because I'm loading the right stuff. I was really happy with my positioning, my bracing, my core. Even though I wasn't feeling strong, I still got after it because of those symptoms that I felt. So, what is it, like 90%, 200 of 220. So working with heavy weight for triples. Maybe I could have, lifted 240 today. I didn't want to push it because of this whole like residual fatigue business that's about me. And then I moved on to something that, a few of you guys have discussed with me in the comments over the last few days, and that's Romanian deadlifts, RDLs. To all of you guys, I basically said, I don't want to do RDLs, even though I love them. They really, really kind of feel good to me. They always have. I was telling you guys, look, I don't want to do the RDLs because I'm weak off the floor and I want to train off the floor technique. So deadlifting, essentially. I spoke with some of you guys about this last night. And then it kind of sparked this idea at me and it kind of went back to square one. I'm doing deadlifting because I have assumed, my hypothesis in this experiment is that I have a weak back. I have a weak back. And this fleeting, ideas that I have about me having weak legs and therefore struggling off the floor, I'm going to put that in the bin for the moment. My hypothesis is I have a weak back. And so it's the weak back that is making me struggle to lift the weight off the floor. I'm going to just run with that for the moment. I kind of have one idea opposing another idea in an experiment. I need to control some variables. So if I'm saying I have a weak back, an RDL is what I need. Because the RDL does exactly that. It trains your hamstrings, glutes, and lower back. And it's in a controlled fashion. So this is where the RDLs come into play here. Now, part of the discussions of RDLs, I was saying, look, because I'm weak off the floor, I need to do some deficit pulls. Now, deficit pulls basically get your legs more involved because you kind of have more knee travel over the bar. And for that first little push, you get to push, right? So you're training your legs to push off the floor. I can't have that in this experiment because that is assuming that I have weak legs. I don't have weak legs. I'm running an experiment here that I have a weak back. So I'm not going to do deficits. I'm going to do RDLs. So I did that. I tried doing snatch grip RDLs. I tried really, really wide kind of grip on the bar. I don't even know how guys do it. Maybe these bars that I had in this commercial gym are really, really kind of smooth. And so even though I kind of double wrap my straps around right at the end, even though I have short arms, they were slipping and sliding. And so like as I was doing the reps, it was kind of like, my hands were coming together. So I had trouble with that. And so then I kind of moved it a little bit kind of more in. But essentially I worked up to 140 kilos for a set of 5. Then I stripped the bar back and I did 100 kilos for a set of 10. Now, each of these sets seems to kind of have been different because I kept playing with my grip. I would have loved that the bar was a bit more grippy, so these straps don't slide so much. It makes me think, like I don't think I have enough like length in my arms to go all the way to the collars of the bar. I don't think like my grip, because right now like this is like above it's almost like my belly button, like it's really, really high, the bar. But I've seen like super heavyweights like they have really, really long arms and they're like basically Lasha, like he's got his hands all the way like right at the collars. I'm not that big. And so anyway, I tried it, kind of struggled with it for a little bit, moved my hands in a little bit and I did that. Now, RDLs are very interesting to me. I've said to you guys that they always felt good to me. But then I've had these ideas about weak legs and so I moved away from them. But RDLs feel amazing to me. And some of you guys have said the same thing. You guys love RDLs. Number one, it's all posterior chain. There's absolutely nothing going on in the anterior chain in terms of the quads. So there's no quads. It's all hamstrings, glutes, and lower back. The difference with this exercise, and this is why I freaking love it, and I wanted to do more, but I kind of pulled myself back today because I didn't want to overcook it. When I do hypers, my lower back gets lit up. I struggle to drive home when hypers are the last exercise for the day. RDLs, however, my back never lights up. I always feel in my hamstrings and glutes. Always. So this is one distinction that I found today, which is really, really interesting to me. Hyper's, really good exercise. I say it's the holy grail for all exercise because it's so easy to teach and it's so accessible, and no one really needs a PhD in human movement to kind of work this thing out. You just get in there, everything's locked in, you just go for it. So it's much easier to do a hyper than an RDL. But for me, hypers just smash the hell out of my lower back. The RDLs, however, no lower back pump at all. I don't know what's going on. It's all in the hamstrings and my glutes. And I think, this is my thinking, I'm not 100% sure about this. This is probably going to take a little bit more of brain power to kind of think about this. I think the difference there is because you are bending your legs. So you're maintaining your shins vertical, and you're kind of bending at the knee and the hip, but it's all kind of loading the hamstrings and the glutes. And because of that, there is less tension in the lower back, because you are not running out of range of motion. That's kind of the rough idea that I'm thinking about, because if you keep your legs straight and all of that fascia loads up and you run out of kind of range of motion at the bottom, you start to round your back. And so there's like a motion in the like you're rounding your back and extending your back, especially right at the top. When you fully extend, you're hyperextending. With the RDL, the bars in your hands, and you're continuously just focusing on flat back. There's no motion because you're loaded. You're actually loaded and there's no motion. That's the whole focus, for me at least, is flat back, flat back, flat back. And so to my surprise today, because these hypers are fresh in my mind, did them yesterday, I was like, wow, like there's absolutely no back pump at all. It's all glutes and hamstrings. Now we can make an argument here that this is what we want. We want the glutes and the hamstrings to be the prime movers when it comes to hip hinging and not the lower back. So you could probably criticize me and say you are doing hypers incorrectly if your lower back is getting lit up. Because if your lower back is getting lit up, that means there's motion in the lumbar spine. There's maybe the slightest bit, but there's flexion and extension at the lumbar spine. And that motion is causing those muscles to be overworked. Where what we're after with the hyper is basically like a door, a hinge, nothing else. So, the door is the back and the wall is your hips. And you are just, nothing else is moving other than hinging at the hip. That is when your hamstrings and your glutes come into the picture. Now, it depends how you load it, because if you load too much weight on and you start rounding, then you're gonna get hyper, the erectors fired up. So there's so many different variables, so many different options you can kind of use to train your posterior chain. The RDLs feel amazing, and a lot of you guys have said yesterday, dude, do the RDLs instead of the deadlifts because it's cheaper on the recovery points, because there's no breaking that inertia of the ground for every rep. And that makes perfect sense to me. Makes absolutely perfect sense to me. I will stick with the deadlifts though, work up to kind of heavy singles. But I think most of my volume, like today, I'm going to do the 5s and the 10s with the RDLs, and leave the triples, doubles and singles for deadlifts, because it's not a lot of reps and it's not a lot of volume. And so maybe I can get away with it. And essentially, I need to practice the skill of deadlifting as well. And so this is kind of part of it. But definitely RDLs are in the mix. Man, that felt amazing. Like right now, I'm making this voiceover in this video, and I feel amazing after these RDLs. So it's going to be interesting how I pull up tomorrow, because after yesterday, I did 10 sets of freaking 10 hypers, and my hamstrings are sore today. Well, then I did RDLs today as well. And so my hamstrings are potentially going to be very, very crippled tomorrow. So it's going to be interesting how that goes. When I got to the squat, because of the RDLs, because of all that stuff that I did with the snatch grip, and then all the freaking sets and reps that I did with RDLs, by the time I got to the squatting, man, my squats felt like butter. Like absolute butter. I felt weaker, obviously, because I just went through a freaking gauntlet of RDLs. But it felt like I was perfectly positioned, very upright, very solid. My glutes were on the map. My hamstrings were on the map. The quads were on the map, surprisingly. The core, everything was in unison. And so I was having a freaking good time. And so I decided to do some pause squats. So you'll see here 140, 160, 180. I'm pausing for a good second at least. A lot of you guys have been asking me, why aren't you doing pause squats? Simple reason, I'm pretty good at getting out of the hole. For me, the struggle is got kind of that like 90-degree knee bend on the way up. That's kind of going to get stuck at the parallel kind of level. So I kind of moved away from pause squats. Today I'm doing them because, well, I didn't want to hit 200 on the squat today. I want to kind of preserve some freaking sanity and not redline both the squat and the deadlift. So I decided, let me do some pause squats, maybe shave some of that weight off the bar. And so I worked up to 180. 180 felt good, felt really good, loaded, balanced, strong. You can see here on 140, I was really trying to kind of contract the core and really try and stay upright. So maybe this is one way I can kind of, control the weight in the squat. So clearly right now I'm doing the posterior chain. I'm getting after it like a maniac, doing all these different exercises. So I want to say that I don't want to do 200 anymore. I'm going to try and do some more pause reps. That way, obviously when you're pausing, you're not loading as heavy as you would be if you're bouncing. And so that's what I'm trying to do. And especially after you've smoked your back, you don't want to be bouncing, because I feel like if you bounce, then you're risking it. So I like the control motion of pause squats. It has me in a good kind of position, in a good tempo where I can control the lower back. If my lower back starts to give out because I've just fried myself with these damn, hypers and RDLs and whatever, that I can just bail on it and that's it. So that was the kind of thing about the pause squats. I just wanted to be safe today because, I don't think I've ever done squats after so many freaking deadlifts. I think today is like day 5, day 6. I must be day 6 of deadlift every day. So it's a lot of back work. So right now I'm kind of like, okay, let's be safe here. I don't want to be bouncing around and going for 210 and whatnot. But anyway, pause squats is a great idea to keep the weight off the bar, practice your movement really well, practice the strength out of the hold, and the most important thing, keep safe. So this is the 180. I think from memory, it was a good 1 second pause. I have to have a look at it again. I remember, so I let my air out here, took some more air, which is probably not the right thing to do. I didn't do that with 160, 140. I don't know why I did that. So it was more than a 1 second pause there. Anyway, that was the session. I was smoked, sweat everywhere. I drank like 3 bottles of water. Let's see how I recover for tomorrow. I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace out.